Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful winning Wednesday.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good to have you here.
All right. Today is October 15th. For all of you late tax filers, make sure
Mhm.
you get it in today because this is the last day that you can file your taxes for 2025. If you try to file after today, there's going to be penalties that come along with that. And I don't believe that that's going to be a very good look. I don't like to give Uncle Sam interest. And what's the only one thing that is worse than giving Uncle Sam interest? I believe the only thing that's worse than giving Uncle Sam interest is giving Uncle Sam penalties. So if
Mm.
you haven't already filed your tax returns, I would say it's too late to call your accountant. So you better run over to TurboTax or Tax Cut and download the application and file something. I don't know if being having it right is better than getting it in is better than getting it wrong and submitting it late. But you know what? We have a good colleague. Well, there's several good colleagues that I know in the CPA space from
Yeah,
Halima with Victory. What is Halima's company? Victory.
yeah, Victory CPA.
So giving a shout out to Victory CPA. Also, I want to give a shout out to Angie Tony. I've been working with Angie Tony closely a lot, and I know
Hmm.
that she is yesterday I spoke with her and she was knee deep in filing tax returns. So I was surprised that she even picked up the phone yesterday. So shout out to all of our CPAs, to
Yeah.
all of our bookkeepers, and all that they do to keep our businesses on track and going. So what's been going on in your world, Eunice?
Well, nothing much. I think just work, family, life. The regular. Nothing much has been going on. I wasn't there last week. I wasn't feeling well, so I'm happy to be here, feeling way much better than I did last week. So yeah, and you? What's going on?
Well, I've been just having additional meetings with a lot of different people and just figuring out how to continue to grow our business. And I had a great call with a gentleman named Ted Williamson, who is an EOS implementer. And, we, I can talk. So we probably spent about 12 to 15 minutes just talking and getting to know one another versus diving into business. But I think in that regard I'm more of like a south no an Asian person per se, because one of the things that I learned when I had visited Japan and spent
Hmm.
time in Asia was the fact that they don't really start and jump into business first. They actually build out the relationship, and it's almost like taboo to just jump in and have a conversation initially, right?
Hmm.
So, we are still out there and petitioning. I'm going to say petitioning more of small business owners to come on and share with us how they have transformed their business from using personal funds and bootstrapping the business, and how they have made the transition over. But I've been failing in that regard, and I'm not afraid to say it. But one of the things that I have learned is that people don't like to talk about finances. people don't like to talk about finances when it's personal. People hate talking about finances when it's business, just the same, is what I have learned. I've
Hmm.
even though we have clients, I've asked several of them to come on and let's just share a story. And so far, no luck, but I'm still shooting for different clients to come on and share their personal stories. But let's then resort to what we like to call is client zero, which is us and our business. And when we went to go and apply for a credit in the name of the business, what was the most drastic thing that you found out when we didn't know that our business credit profile was non-existent?
I mean, I think for me, I really thought we had a business profile because we were doing the what I assumed were the right things. We had opened a business account. We had registered. We had an EIN, and we even had a business credit card. So my understanding was that we had a business profile out there, and as we continued making payments on that credit card, we were building our profile. So
Hmm.
to be told, actually, you don't really have a profile was just like, what have I been doing all these years? Like, what are you telling me? And it's difficult because a lot of times as a business owner, you really try and be intentional on the things that you do to really help your business. So when
Mm.
you genuinely believe that you've been doing this step that you know is important for your growth because it opens more doors for you financially, and when you're being told, actually, there's nothing there, you
Mm.
literally feel like they've literally yanked all that financial potential that you were eyeing, and you're saying, okay, what do I need to do, or where do I need to go to change this so that this can be corrected?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I think the initial feed into it was denials, right?
yeah, yeah.
So denials, and I tell this story quite often to anyone who is willing to listen. Is it wasn't really the denials because we thought that we had done it correctly and got in credit cards that had the business's name on those credit cards. So if anything, I'm not looking for an affiliate or sponsorship, but shout out to Credit Karma because I probably would not have been paying as much attention to the fact that on a monthly basis, our credit score was going high and low, high and low, high and low. And I was wondering why, because on the personal side, we're pretty steady with how we use our credit card. We already know before the month is over or beginning how much we anticipate we're going to have on that card for that month.
Mm,
Like we know that.
yeah.
So when I started seeing, Credit Karma was sending me emails saying that my credit score had gone down, that's when I came to realize that, hey, something is going on here, right? So I pulled the credit report on the personal side and I saw one particular entry that was tied to the business. And I'm saying to myself, when I applied for this credit card, right? When I had applied for this credit card, I used the EIN number for our parent entity, right? yes, I believe, or maybe I don't believe I gave them my social security number, but I probably did, right? And I applied for a business credit card and it came back and it said, your name plus your business name on the credit card. So I was quite surprised and shocked when I came to learn that that business credit card, I had given it a personal guarantee, which at that point in time, I wasn't as against personal guarantees as I am today, right?
Hmm.
But I didn't know that that was going to be showing up on my personal credit score, which is what I absolutely didn't want to have happen because I didn't want the business to be pulled down. Well, I didn't want the personal score to be pulled down
Yeah.
by our business. So I'm glad to know that we have that problem resolved. We're off in our on our own on our journey. We have many trade lines reporting because the one thing that we learned about this game is that really it's a conversation about trade lines, and then trade lines lead to other trade lines, and trade lines then lead to other higher amounts. And as you get to tier 3 and tier 4, that's when you have access to cash accounts. And I think cash accounts are what all small business owners are looking for when they are talking about financing for their business.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's extremely, extremely, extremely promising to me, and I am thankful that we are on that journey. So, to everyone out there in the world who would be listening to our message today, is that we are not in a position where we are telling you to do something that we haven't first advised ourselves to do.
Yeah.
We are small business owners, and we have done everything in our power to educate ourselves. And then when we do educate ourselves, that's when, if we see that there's an opportunity, we could actually share that opportunity with you, our audience, so that you can grow your business at the same time, similar to how we are growing our business. I would think for the most part, this is probably going to be one of the best years that we've had so far. And, we are always looking for ways that we could market our business better to more audiences, because I would say one of the most frustrating things is when you know and believe that there are business owners who could use our service, but in a way they are hesitant to have a conversation. You know,
Yeah.
I I
Well,
sit
I
in this.
think, I mean, sorry to cut you off, but I was saying that I think, like, how you started this conversation by how a lot of people really don't are not comfortable
Mm,
talking about their finances. Even for me in the insurance industry, I know a lot of people who just don't like talking about death. Nobody wants to prepare for their death, or nobody wants to be talking about um, what they're going to be leaving for their families once they pass on. Those are
mm,
two things that most people typically just don't want to talk about. Even couples, many couples just don't have those type of conversations, right?
mm,
So even from a business perspective, especially when you are in your first couple of years in business, a lot of times, truth be told, you are barely making any money. So for you to have a conversation with someone about your business, and particularly talk about your finances when you know you are not making money, at that point, most of us, when we start off, we're just barely faking it until we make it. So if I'm faking it to you and telling you, oh, business is great, and I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but then if I have a deeper conversation with you and it's clear that you're actually not making money, there's a conflict there. But what I want to say to most people or most business owners is that, we're business owners ourselves.
Mm,
One, we know that in the beginning, things can be tough. Most business owners, when they start off, you're not making money. Most chances are you may be putting in more of your personal funds into just keeping the business afloat. So we understand,
mm,
no judgment over here. Two, even if your business is now making money, it may not be making the type of money that you are looking for. And that's fine. I've had conversations with people, especially who are in real estate, whether it's, they're flippers or they do fix and flips. Sometimes it appears as if they're not making money only because they have all these depreciations that come in, and it appears as if you're not making money, right? So we understand things like that. And at the end of the day, what we are looking to do in this platform is to have a safe space where we can have conversations with other business owners to help them, assist them, work with them to make sure that their businesses thrive and that their businesses have access to the funds that they need to continue growing. And for you to be able to do that, you need to be transparent. I'm not saying sit down with me and show me last week this is how much came in, and then I used it for that, and then this came in and I did this and I did that. That's not what I'm looking to do. But at a high level, we just want to help you to make sure that, hey, you are in a position where there is income coming in, there is management of expenses that need to go out, and how do we report these things to make sure that as these transactions occur within the business, that these transactions that are occurring are reflected on your business profile, and that helps open the potential for you, because once it's evident that this is a business where there are transactions going in and out, that's what's needed to help you build your credit. Not
mm,
necessarily for me to come and look at your business and say, oh, you only made 2,000 last month. No, that's not
mm,
how it is. So don't worry about, they are going to know that last month this is only how much I made, and I had to put in an extra thousand to pay off my expenses. That's not the what we're looking to do. What we're really trying to do is to help you to say, okay, if these are the type of transactions that are coming into your business, what
mm,
can what can you do to help you get that credit? Some people, you may find that maybe you have a contract that's going to give you 10,000,
mm,
right? Is there something that we can do with that contract to help you get more funding to be able to do the job that you need until you get paid? Those are the type of things that we can have conversations with you about, this whole building of your credit. Not necessarily, oh, you're only making 10,000 but your expenses are X. That's not how this whole thing works. So be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable so that you can grow.
Now every single client that I take on from a coaching perspective, we have that same conversation.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I just had this conversation earlier today, and I said, in order to get the most out of coaching, you have to be open and honest and willing to explore what isn't clear or fully known,
Mm,
right? That's the only way I believe that if we're going to be able to land our mission, right? We want
yeah.
businesses to survive, then thrive past year 5. I think the only way that we're going to be able to have that conversation and meet that mission is when we can find people who are willing, wanting to be vulnerable and have those conversations. So, you know,
Mhm.
we got a couple of different things that we're working on, right? And we don't have to do this, but we have made it extremely easy for a small business to get a handle on what it is that they are doing and how it is working. We start with 30 minutes of our time. My time is worth way more than $99. And out of the $99, I'm paying for a pull of the credit report, which means that I'm probably selling myself for about $30 for that 30 minutes, right? But what we are doing is before you are ever even our customer, we are investing in you, right? By giving you our time so that you can understand where is your business today, and from there you can make sound decisions on how to move it forward. That's all
Yeah.
that we're trying to do. We are definitely not, driving up to the bank, getting out of the car and doing a dance. No way, no how, right? But what
Yeah.
we want to do, we'll get out and dance with you, right? When we are able to see your business grow, see your business grow to the point where you are no longer the CEO wearing that hat of CFO, COO, Chief Human Resources Officer, and your business is actually growing, which is meeting your needs, you're providing for your community and growing.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of other things that we can talk about. The government is still shut down, so we don't have access to all of the data that we usually get. But one of the reports that I actually read before coming into this meeting showed me that there's a lot of divide when it comes to the FOMC about lowering interest rates. I haven't read the full article yet. I'm going to update myself on that one. But one of the things that I saw that was most important, and this is going to definitely be something that I want to get your opinion on, Eunice, is that homeowners actually believe that interest rates going down will be beneficial for them. I don't believe that that's going to be the case because when interest rates goes down with the supply of inventory that we have, with the supply of inventory that we have, it's actually going to cause price appreciation because there's not enough supply to meet the demand. What's your opinion on that one before we close out today?
Well, from a home seller perspective, of course, that means that there will be more people looking to buy, which could potentially lead to more multiple offers. I mean, if I'm talking about just the Northern Virginia market, we do have properties staying a little bit longer than usual on the market.
Hmm.
We do have a large percentage of homes um, having to do a price reduction, right? So, of course, with any change in mortgage rates, especially if they go slightly lower, that might pull those who've been sitting on and watching from afar to come back into the market and transact. And of course, from a buyer's perspective, anytime they believe that the interest rates will go down, that just means that they believe that and they know that, hey, it positively affects their buying power. So they may be inclined to also come back into the market. And I'll say, I just recently had a client who was curious also as to, do they wait for the rates to go down, or what happens. And from walking them through the interest rates over the years, right, they were able, I didn't have to say it out to them, they were able to look at that graph and see that the only time that the rates were like in those high twos and low threes was around that time, COVID years, and around that time. But typically, if we were to treat that time as an exception, you will see that your sixes were and have always been where the rates were. And that helped her to make a decision to say, you know what, I can't keep waiting any longer, because prices are not going any longer, are not going down. So that kind of helped them to process that. I don't know if this answers your question, but yeah.
Well, it does, because what we're trying to do is, I believe, the first foundation of what it is that we're doing is really having a conversation with our clients about what they can do or cannot do, and how, from a small business owner, yes, you have to live somewhere, right? But one of the
Yeah,
other things that you have to do is start out by building a sound foundation for your business and for your family. And I would say that that starts with purchasing a home for your family. So I
that's
think
right.
that's enough for us to be able to close out for today. So let's shut it down. Let's wish everyone a happy, wonderful winning Wednesday, and we'll talk next week again, where we'll have another topic that we'll share with our audience and go from there.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for always coming through to our meetings. And if you have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to contact us. We are open books. We love to share our journey this far, and we enjoy having conversations with other business owners as well, because there's always something that you can learn from other business owners or from others around you, right? But other than that, thanks for being here, and we will see you next week on another wonderful Winning Wednesday.